up, bro?
Hey Dario, how you doing? A little
I'm
applause for you.
well. Oh, yeah, thanks. I was actually enthralled
Mm.
by looking at the behind the scenes video because I hadn't seen it myself, and I was like, "Oh, that looks cool."
Oh my god, that's great. Yeah, yeah, you probably like saw some of your side profile. Yeah, you're in there a little bit. You got some of your side views.
Yeah. And the shorts, no, it was great. It was great.
Yeah, it's looking good. Was that shoot in LA?
Yes, it was in LA, Los Angeles, on the rooftop, actually.
Oh wow. Oh my god, yeah. I mean, a lot looked like it went into that. You had that huge. That first thing I saw out of that BTS was like there was that huge panel. What was that all about? It was like
Was
this
that white?
that giant white panel that he was climbing up and stuff.
Yeah. So it's actually. Do you know what a cyc is? A
Yeah. Uh huh. Oh,
cyclorama?
definitely.
Okay, so for people who may be watching who don't know what that is, in a photo studio, you can have what's called a cyclorama, which is a wall that does not have a bottom edge, so that when you take a picture of it, it looks like the the edge of the floor is like goes to infinity. So that's called a cyclorama. So I found this studio in LA that actually built one on top of their roof.
Wow.
So they actually built a huge, I don't know, like 25 by something crazy cyclorama on their roof. And so yeah, we went up there and shot there.
Yeah. I mean, it looked huge,
No,
especially
it's
in the shots.
huge.
Wow. That's crazy. And you were talking about a little bit about the space that you rented out and stuff. What was the pre-production like for this whole shoot? I mean,
The pre-production was pretty fast, actually. I found out I was heading to LA to shoot this maybe 48 hours before I flew.
wow.
Yeah. So I had like just gotten in from Norwegia, which is like crazy. Um, I'm joking, by the way.
I was like, wait, oh my god, I just did the same thing. See, everybody,
Yeah.
I'm not ridiculous.
No, you are ridiculous. I was just letting you know.
Thank you, thank you. You really bring me back down to
Hey.
earth.
Yeah, all the way back down from Norwegia. No, I'm done. I'm done. That's it. We're done. So yeah, so the pre-production was like super fast. Um, but they sent me a group of studios that they had reserved, and I saw this place had this cyc on the roof, which was to me just super crazy. And just being in LA, like, they have the great weather. Why not be outside? It's COVID friendly. Like it like hit all the marks.
Hmm.
So that's how I ended up choosing that spot.
Wow, really cool. And also, in kind of the pre-production process, the very, very short pre-production process, it sounds like. How did you what were your thoughts going to this specific shoot? Because like I'm wondering, because did you know that it was going to be a cover shoot going into it?
Yeah, I did know that it was a cover. That much I did know.
Hmm.
And what was really special about this shoot that doesn't always get to happen, is that John David and I were able to actually hop on the phone, and
That's
have
cool.
a conversation. So we were on the phone for, I don't know, probably almost an hour, and we barely talked about the shoot. Like we just spoke about his background. We spoke about, just what he's interested in. Spoke about me. I started teaching earlier this year at Parsons
Hmm.
School of Design, so he asked about that course. Like we just kind of got to really know each other, and it was great because it let me know that whatever was going to happen on Sunday, like it was going to be a beautiful time.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like every time you can build some sort of relationship with your talent and with your subject, I feel like that just makes for better content at the end of the day. So I'm really glad that y'all got to talk a little bit. That was one of my big questions over there. It's like, did you actually get to spend time together? But yeah.
Yeah, we did. We did. Well, we actually probably spent more time on the phone than we did on set,
Hmm.
but
Yeah,
that's kind of
which
how
is
it goes.
crazy. Yeah, what was the flow of the day like?
The flow of the day was pretty much hurry up and wait.
Hmm.
Um, so John David is shooting a movie right now, and so his schedule's pretty booked. And so he was actually shooting the night before, up until maybe like 7, 8 a.m. the morning of the shoot.
Wow.
So he literally just kind of went home, crashed, got a couple of hours of sleep, and then came right to set.
Mhm.
So we were just, just waiting for him to arrive, make sure that we had everything ready for him. Except like we were up against a crazy time crunch because we were shooting outside and it's winter and the sunset was like, we have a real hard line. Like when there's no more sun, there's no more sun.
Wow.
So we were definitely starting to creep up to like the sunset.
So you really had everything working against you schedule wise for this day.
Everything. Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
But you got it done, and the shots look amazing, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Everything looks
Thank you.
phenomenal. I was also wondering what was your, because I imagine that you come on set every time you have a shoot like this, whether it's a portrait shoot or it's boots on the ground, you come in with a specific goal in mind or a specific thing to showcase or a specific thing that you want to come out of this imagery. I'm wondering, what was your specific goal or your specific thing that you wanted to get out of John David at the shoot?
There were a couple of things. So speaking with JD on the phone, he spoke one thing. He spoke so much about his mother,
Mm.
and I think many people, a lot of times you have these couples, and one is famous and one perhaps isn't as well known. But particularly when it comes to men, a lot of times like the wives are left behind. But his mother, Pauletta Washington, is just as incredible. I mean, she's an incredible jazz musician. He spoke about her so much.
Mm.
And so I knew that I wanted to have her presence on the set somehow. Even if I couldn't maybe get her in an image, like I just wanted her presence there. And so I actually texted the publicist like the night before the shoot, like late. I was like, yo, I know this is a stretch, but is it possible to just have Pauletta come on set? Like JD spoke about her so much, like it would just be great to have her there. And so she did come on set, and I was able to sneak a bit of her in one of the shots, which is the image with her hand, and we can talk about that later.
Wow.
But then the other thing was I just really wanted to show as many sides of JD as I possibly could, because I feel like really coming from, being the scion of such a famous guy, like you really want to carve out your own lane. But then also like, who are you? Like, he's done a couple of movies, big movies actually, but really wanting to kind of peel away some of those layers. Like, what are some sides that we haven't seen? He used to be a football player. Like, have we seen him like really athletic? Like, let's get him moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually am going to challenge you. You said he was like in the lower echelon
Mm-hmm.
of football earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know he played for like the St. Louis Rams, which is my hometown? So I'm not
Oh
going to
yeah.
call that the lower
Oh my
echelon.
God.
Like, guy, like, bro.
I'm sorry if I insulted you or your hometown.
I mean, St. Louis, bro. I mean, we don't have the Rams anymore. They're actually back in LA, I think. But
Mhm.
but still, I would call it lower echelon. Wow.
Sorry, I'm not that
Wow.
football savvy. It sounded it was framed that way to me. I'm just saying what I've read.
John, let's get
Alright,
you signed by
alright.
an NFL team. You see how
I'm
low
sure
echelon it
they'd like
is.
to rough me up a little bit after that one. So
Yeah. Somebody tagged them. Lower echelon.
oh man. Well, before we get moving with these images that I want to talk about too, we do have some questions about you in the chat. People are very
Okay,
very
yeah.
interested about you and your career and your journey. And you said you're a professor over at Parsons. They're wondering
Yes, sir.
a few things about that. Number one, did you attend Parsons yourself?
No, I actually went to SVA, which is
Oh,
School
cool.
of Visual Arts here in New York City. That's where I got my master's. And then I did my bachelor's back in Kansas City.
Well, cool. And in addition to that, do you think that teaching at Parsons or teaching such coursework has contributed in some way to your creative process?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, like it's forced me to actually get my work done like on time because every week I have to teach a course. Like I am on a very like tight schedule, and there's 22 people depending on me at the end of the week. So that's been super helpful. And then also just researching images, history. The course I teach is one that I created called Decolonizing the Gaze. That's Gaze, by the way. Decolonizing the Gaze, Fashion, Race, and the Aesthetics of Visual Design. And so each week we go through different modules, different subjects to help the students not only learn to read images and the world around them, but then also understand that a lot of the thoughts that they personally have or desires or preferences or even like who they're attracted to has kind of been conditioned, like they're actually a part of a much larger machine. And so yeah, it's been super helpful.
Wow, that's really cool. And I do think that after looking at a lot of your work these past few days too, I think that really comes across through your work too, is that kind of how can we present this in a way that is kind of shifting the cultural norm or kind of reversing what once was to kind of create a new path or a new progression for photography and for imagery. Like I saw that definitely with your Vanity Fair cover of Viola Davis, which was absolutely
yes.
beautiful.
Thank you.
By the way, but you can just tell from the imagery too. It's just completely different from any cover that I've ever seen. It's very kind of the colors and like the ability, the use of shadow as well. Yeah, I mean, definitely it comes out. It comes across.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. I'm just a geek, to be honest. I'm just a geek in cool kids clothing. Like I'm always researching, reading, these things are very interesting to me.
Beautiful. So we will then move up into the imagery that you photographed of John David Washington. We got a few up here, especially, well, we'll start with the cover. I might as well. It's right here.
Yeah, sure.
So I think the thing that I noticed most about this one is his like piercing eyes. That is really the first thing that came across to me. What was getting this shot like? What was in this specific moment too of him kind of turned over a little bit? What was your thinking there?
Well, first, what do his eyes say to you?
They really just communicate to me that he is passionate and that he's just here to stay. I feel like, I don't know what they really hit me with that because I don't know, just a lot of determination, definitely as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I think John David might have been slightly upset with me at this point because that's why I always ask, like, what do you see? Because if you a couple of images later, we'll see on the back of that site, I had him like essentially doing pull-ups,
right,
like over and 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 over again. And so this is after that, and John David is probably like, if you don't take this picture, and so that's probably what's coming across.
Uh-huh.
But for me, what I love about this image is not only his gaze, and us kind of getting a real intimate view, right? Like we're really close, right? Like we're like up in his face. Right. We get a sense of like his athletic background with his arm, but then also that like golden hour LA light, which I was definitely after. Very much like a late 90s kind of vibe, with kind of like the color. And as you can see, or as you will see, a couple of the images later slightly reference his father. His father did a shoot with Herb Ritts back in the 90s. And so I was kind of using that as a reference in the back of my mind as well. So kind of referencing that era and then also some of the poses. But yeah, that's kind of everything that this image represents. And then also just technically, understanding that since his skin was going to be like a little bit warmer, like on the oranger side, to like leave in the blue sky so we
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't just get rid of it totally,
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of balance things. So like all these little slight things that I'm thinking about, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I was especially gonna try to ask about that little slimmer of blue in the sky that you see there, because it does really like I was wondering like why is it there, but I like that it is. You know?
It's tiny subtle things, and
Mm,
I'm glad that the magazine left it in. You give an image over to a magazine, and then you just kind of have to walk away and
right.
just pray and cross your fingers, because they could have cropped it out or something like that, but
Right.
I'm glad they kept it in. I think it's like little small things like that that kind of
Wow,
make images work.
that's great. And we can move on to the next image over here. Let me just click through. Oh yeah, this
Ah,
is
well, here we go.
this is the aforementioned John David Washington doing pull-ups and giving you the stink eye kind of. But yeah, talk me through this kind of whole scenario. Because I mean, he does have a huge athletic background, and he was
Yeah,
in the NFL, not the lower echelon, but in the NFL.
yeah.
So I mean, that's another thing. I guess whose call was it to kind of communicate that? What was it, your call or was it his call? Did he? I mean, he obviously had athletic clothing with him, but what
I
was
guess it
the
was
idea?
my call.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, there wasn't enough time for multiple calls, so I'm gonna just assume this was my call. Um, but yeah, I think for me, when I'm approaching any subject, I'm always thinking about what haven't we seen from them, what side of them has not been revealed, and so so with this, I did it quite easily. I thought this was pretty easy shot, but JD, so if you it's hard to see from this point of view, but he's actually wearing dress shoes.
Really? Oh my god.
Yeah. So he
Jeez.
has no grip. This is all pure arm strength. Um,
0%
and
traction on that.
and literally like slipping and sliding, right? Because those are like it's kind of like a dog, like when they're doing this at the windowsill.
Wow.
There's no traction whatsoever. So this is like all arm, and I'm shooting, below, and we have apple boxes beneath him, ready for him to like,
Hmm.
not fall, because he's also in a movie. So this is something I always have to think about as well. I mean, safety first for everybody
Sure.
on set, but like, with actors, like their bodies are their instruments. So you want to have whatever, protocols around to just make sure everybody feels safe. But I love this. I love this. JG, the one thing I wasn't anticipating was he does kind of come across serious, I think, like just in life and on screen, but he's actually like super playful, like
Hmm.
super playful. And so this was actually like a lot of fun. It was literally just like an adult playground. Like
Wow.
that's what this set was.
That's really cool. And did he run up there himself, or did they ladder him up there, or how did he get up there?
Um, we had a steel deck. So this is probably a good 25 feet in the air.
Oh my god.
So we had like a steel deck, and then on top of the steel deck, we had boxes for him to stand on. And then he would have to kind of be on his tippy toes to get to the edge of the site and then pull himself up.
Hmm. Wow.
So and then I was down all the way down on the ground.
Jeez.
But yeah, this is pretty
Good.
this is pretty high up, but he was a good sport, man.
Wow. That's really cool. Uh, Now moving into our next one over here. Um, so the last one we got some action. The last one he was hanging off of this gigantic cyc wall, but now he's taking a break. He's taking a little rest. Um, and this one it was definitely like more of a lower profile, and you have the cyc all surrounding him and such, and a white shirt, so blends in with the white on white too there. What was this image? What was going through your head when you were shooting this one?
I just kind of wanted to get him in a place of repose, right, where he wasn't so active that we as a viewer get to just passively look at him. And then again, just kind of get a little bit of a slice. And it's interesting because I think just again, like when you're the child of a famous person, people are always wanting to compare the two of you. And it's interesting for me because JD doesn't have anything like I would not even know that Denzel was his father, right? He, as his own person, is a complete pure individual. Like there's no hints or reminiscences of his father for me, except for this image.
Mhm.
I think this image is the one where you really see like, oh, okay, this is like Denzel's son. But it, I think, allows JD his own sexiness, like his own manliness, and and you still kind of get a sense of that athleticism as well. But I think in this image you can kind of see his own quote unquote heritage, but also that he's very much his own person, like, and very much in control of that image.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And do you know what part of the day was this? What was this right before he climbed or right after he climbed?
I'm gonna say this is after he climbed, and maybe before we did the cover.
Mm-hmm.
So this was like we were shooting pretty fast, so I can't even really remember,
I'm sure,
to be honest, because all I was thinking was like, we have to finish by 5:59. Like there will be no light. So we were just like, throw this on here, right over here. Like, no,
go,
like
go.
It was very much like that. Yeah, and I think even moving that quickly for an image like this that feels so relaxed yet tense, like he feels like he can pounce in any moment, but he's also quite relaxed. To even get that slice in a moment where literally we're just kind of running around is actually pretty remarkable.
Because you do
on
have,
his part.
Because you do have, for the short time you had, I mean, we'll also dive into it with more of these images, but you do have these images or points where somehow he's able to relax, or somehow everything's able to relax and kind of live in the moment a little bit. Because I mean, I imagine these shoots are most of the time just running around, getting a few shots, and then that's the day. But did you really feel those moments? Did you also really savor those moments where it could just be a little lull?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the cool thing about working with actors is that they really have a command of their body and their emotions. And, you know, for me as a photographer, you know, I'm just getting a slice of them, right? Like a movie director is getting them in continual motion. I just need like a moment that registers. So in that way, I'm kind of lucky. But also, there comes a point, it's really hard to describe, but there comes a point with like every subject where you no longer have to speak. You know, a lot of times you're given direction like, you know, relax here, breathe here. And I actually have a background as an actor, like I used to be a performer as well. So there's a lot of exercises and things that I can do with actors so that they're relaxed and things like that. But that magical moment when they just feel you and you feel them and you don't actually have to speak, like JD and I got there like pretty quickly. And so it's really hard to describe, but it's like if you could describe air, but in the vocabulary of time. So it's like this kind of like suspended air time where it's just quiet and it's you and the subject. It's like the publicist is shut up, like everyone's quiet. You know, I did have a pretty amazing playlist, I will say.
Wow.
But there's just this moment where we're just communicating without words, and JD and I got there like really quickly. So even though we didn't have a lot of time and length, we were able to find these mutual pockets to just kind of non-verbally communicate. And I think a huge part of that was built off of having that conversation, you know, a couple of days before.
Wow. That's really cool. And also you got to send me that playlist.
Yeah, I actually made it public. I'll have to send it to you. I'll
Oh,
send you a DM.
definitely. We'll send it out to the chat later. I'm sure they'll love it.
Oh, dope.
Great. We can move to our next image now. I'm gonna pull this one up. Now, this one especially caught my eye because it's a motion shot. He's moving. He's doing something or about to do something. Talk to me a little bit about this one. What was the thinking behind this one right here?
Yeah, so this image as well kind of goes back to that idea of, his athleticism, me wanting to see him in motion. And then also kind of back to the story where we were talking about it just kind of being an adult playground where he was just kind of going for it and I was just capturing it. We were just really playing with each other. And so this is a remnant of that shot, of that moment, or one of those moments. And what I like about this image is not only like the shape and the movement of the garment, because the garment, it's hard to tell, but it's this long kind of flowing black shirt, which was super, super cool. And this image actually isn't even like tack sharp, which for me is something that I'm always playing with as well, because I think, in modern culture, or particularly editorials, like everyone wants every single pixel to be sharp, like tack sharp. And then you kind of you lose a sense of like humanity or movement or motion. And so I actually really enjoyed this motion blur and like the shape that he was creating. And so for me, this was really kind of about, motion and just kind of graphic imagery.
Yeah, definitely. It pulls you out of the photo shoot mentality, I think, where you see photos, you see covers, you see stills, and it's all, okay, that was at a photo shoot. That was a specific moment in time where they sat down and got photographed. This to me speaks differently of he was doing something, or he was going somewhere, or something was happening to him, or he was doing something with his emotions. So I think it definitely communicates that. And do you work a lot with this kind of motion blur scenario?
I have before, like when it's appropriate. I think it has to definitely be deliberate. It's definitely a choice. I've used it before in a couple of other shoots, but it's not anything that I would call like, a signature. But it was just, just one of those moments. I think Henri Cartier-Bresson was like one of the fathers of photography, talks about like that decisive moment. And this was like one of those.
Wow. Awesome. And we can move to the next one. Okay. So this one, first of all, whose hand is that?
The Holy Spirit.
No, but this image and in this section, even in the BTS footage that we just saw earlier, this kind of whole section of him on this couch/chair and kind of being caressed in the head too by, I assume, somebody else or himself. Yeah, what was this setup like?
So this is the last shot. So this was actually the very end of the day. And that hand is his mother's hand, Pauletta. And so that was kind of what I wanted, essentially, when I asked if she would be on set. I just wanted like her hand. I wanted her to like kiss his forehead. I just wanted her presence in an image. And, this was the last shot. We'd had lunch. Everyone was super relaxed. And, I spoke to Pauletta, and she's quite private. But I was like, I'd love to just have you somehow, in this day. And so this was the shot that we got. And I just love it, man. I just love it. This for me is probably my favorite shot. Like this is probably my favorite shot and the most me kind of image, if there's a way to say that, where like it's so much of myself is in this image, like one, just this surreal concept of this hand from nowhere, right? So I love playing with, just tricking the mind in ways, and just just kind of being a little dork. Um, and then also like this, it's almost like a pietà in a moment, in a way, like a pietà meaning um, images of the Virgin Mary holding the body of Jesus. I'm not saying JD is Jesus in any way, and JD, I know you're not. We had conversations, but for me, it speaks to that, right? The love of a mother for her son, the ways in which Black women have consistently supported Black men and held them up, even if we didn't see them, even if we never knew their names, like their presence was there. Like the men couldn't stand up straight if they weren't. And so, with an image like this, all of that for me is inside of this image. And what was crazy was when we were, or maybe not crazy, but when we were looking at the images at the end, what you see in the video at the beginning, like everybody just started crying. Like like everybody on set just like it's just weeping. Like it was as beautiful and as intimate as this image looks. And that's how we ended the day. I was like, well, I guess this is the last shot because I can't see because my eyes are wet. So yeah, it was really, 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 really dope, especially knowing that from the outside, so many people would look at his father. But for me, having like an inside view, knowing that so much of who he is actually about his mother, and being able to capture this for them, for me was the real gift like of the day for sure.
Wow, that's beautiful. And I mean, it really reflects itself in the image. I mean, the image is just so powerful looking. And also, he has this kind of look that I don't think I've seen in any of the other images where he's either being playful or he's being more serious and determined or sometimes mad at you. But this one, this one, he seems very much at ease. I guess it could be the end of the day as well. But I feel like, do you feel like his mother's hand or his mother's presence in this moment really made him personally more at ease for this shot?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was crazy, man. Like it was crazy. Like the shots were so beautiful. We, even my rep and I, like we were going, like we were just comparing like thumb positions like on her head because it was like his gaze was so powerful the whole way through. And I think it just speaks to that support, like what it means to have someone there who's on your side, as you navigate new spaces, right? He has a lot of eyes on him. There's a lot, he has big shoes to fill. And he's trying to carve out a lane for himself, and to be able to have someone who's known you from birth still be there, still show up for you, even when you've had 4 hours of sleep, but it's your cover of Rolling Stone, and she shows up anyway in COVID, in the middle of a pandemic, and is there to just like caress your head. I mean, like I could start crying right now. Like it's like wild. It's like wild.
Yeah. And speaking of him also going on, carving out his own path and being his own person, we have actually an extra image in here that I want to bring up right now. It is this one. So this one's not in print, but we thought we'd bring it up today because, I mean, I saw it in the little pack I got for the session today and all these photos, and I was like, we have to talk about this one. It's so fascinating. It just looks like he's looking out right into his future. So I wanted to get your thoughts on this image as well.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I just, I'm gonna be shameless and say that at the end of the day, like I'm just always looking for beauty, right? Like I'm looking for beauty wherever I can. And, looking at JD, I think he does have this kind of alpha masculine energy, right? Even though actually we're the same height, so we're actually not too. We can go. Oh yeah, we can go fisticuffs,
toe to toe,
toe to toe, so to speak. But I think this image, like, it's just beautiful. Like you just see that he's like just a beautiful person. Like, you know, light him well, just show him from a profile, which, you know, everyone doesn't have a great profile, but he has a great one. And again, it just allows the viewer to passively just look at this human being who just on it, and not to objectify him, but just like as an object, like it's just beautiful. Just like the shape of his eyebrow to like his eyelash to the shape of his mouth. Like, whoops, sorry, I'm like, this is not a pointer. It's just my pen. But yeah, like I'm like literally stabbing my screen trying to show you, like you can see.
Ow, ow. Oh my God.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Shit, wear goggles next time. I'm gonna put that in. Might want to wear goggles. But yeah, and that's it, you know, just like super graphic, super simple, and just a way for human beings to admire what it's like to look at the beauty of another human being, period. And it's not about, you know, sexuality or being, you know, sexually attracted to someone, but actually just what does it mean to be alive, and how wonderful is it that we have these kind of beautiful instruments to play with. I think I heard a phrase once that your body is the most expensive and beautiful thing you will ever own, and that's so true. And so that's really what this image is about. It's just like he's beautiful, like it's beautiful, like let's just show that.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's a beautiful image, and I mean, all this is great work. But with a subject like that, where can it go wrong, realistically? But I think you managed to, as far as I'm concerned, you managed to take that and kind of expand on it in all these ways. With also getting to know him a little bit, must have helped the shoot a lot, and kind of having his mother on set, which you requested specifically. I imagine that really opened him up, and I don't know. These images to me were very beautiful and well done beforehand, but I think now hearing a little bit about them too, like spectacular. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you.
And we're not going to let you go just yet, although it is almost time. I do have a few questions in from fans in the chat. Everybody's really loving this conversation, by the way. They're really
great,
really digging you.
Hold on, I'm gonna like put you on my Instagram story. Hello, John.
Hello, Dario.
And Rolling Stone.
Hello.
All right, I'm done.
Oh, that was lovely.
John, you just got shot by the world famous photographer.
I know.
Dario Calmese.
Wow. Oh my God.
Look at that.
Remote shoot. My first remote shoot.
The cover of May. Put me up there, baby.
Bro, get ready. Get ready.
So I just had one more question.
Actually, that bookshelf behind you. Would you actually climb up there for me?
Really quickly? Yeah, absolutely. I'm wearing dress shoes right now. Is that protocol? Is that?
Yeah. No. Perfect. Actually, perfect.
These good?
It's not as sturdy as it looks.
Yeah, it was built by me, so it's not that sturdy.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. All right.
But I do have one more question before you go, Dario, and from a fan in the chat, they were wondering. When I know it's kind of a loaded question, but when did you realize that you wanted to become a photographer and do this full time?
When did I realize I wanted to be a photographer? I would say probably about like 11 years ago. So like I said earlier, I used to be a performer. I used to be an actor, singer, dancer, all those things. And I think the camera really entered my life in a significant way. Probably about like 11 years ago, I bought a DSLR just to take pretty pictures of the Eiffel Tower. Like I was taking a trip to Europe, and I came back and I was an actor still. And I just started taking images of my friends. And for some reason prior to then, I always thought that like art was in one silo and like my academic rational mind was in another silo, and I couldn't use the two at the same time. I don't know where I got that. But through the camera, I actually found that I could use my analytical rational mind to create something, or something that was an act of creativity. And so once I realized that or felt that, I think that's when I really wanted to pursue photography.
Wow. Well, wonderful. Well, I'm sure whoever asked that in the chat is very satisfied with that response, as I am.
I hope so.
Well, Dario, I really appreciate the time you've given us here today. I would love to speak with you more, so I would hope to have you back on sometime. But thank you so much for being with us today and kind of going through this lovely Rolodex of photos with us.
Of course, my pleasure, my pleasure. Also, one thing we didn't get to talk about, but if anyone's interested in my work and what I'm up to, I also have a podcast that I'm going to shamelessly plug.
Yes, please. Oh, the floor is yours.
Okay, hold on. No, I'm kidding. It's called the Institute of Black Imagination, and it is a podcast about design and the Black imagination. You can find it wherever you receive your podcast. So that's it.
Beautiful. Well, Dario, appreciate you coming on. Hope you have a lovely day, and I hope to see you very soon. Thank you so much.
We will. All right, take care, bro.
Bye.